John Miller is New York City's Deputy Police Commissioner of Intelligence and Counterterrorism. He's also our former senior correspondent. John, good morning. You just heard Elizabeth Palmer describe it as a tense situation there, that controlled explosion, as well as Sri Lankan police finding 87 bomb detonators at a bus station this morning. What are you hearing from your intelligence counterparts?
Well, from the time this started in about 4-something in the morning yesterday, Chief Tom Galati, Chief of Intelligence, Chief James Waters from Counterterrorism, the wheel started turning in New York about getting information about what they were seeing there and what we heard we didn't like, which is a complex multi-location attack that was very well organized, and then making sure we put the pieces into place here against any similar targets.
You don't like the idea of a complex multi-destination because it suggests an outside force outside of the country?
I think when you look at this and you see 7 or 8 locations off the bat in near simultaneous staggers with then other later ones, then raids on places where suspects set off bombs. What you're looking at is the kind of operation that would take a great deal of organization, a good deal of funding, and more importantly, a fairly large number of people for your average terrorist plot, which increases operational security. How do they run this for so long with so much planning and so many wheels turning without it being found? Exactly, Gayle.
But then there's word that the government had been told something 10 days ago that there could be an attack on a church. Does that mean they didn't believe it, didn't take it seriously?
Well, they did put out a notice to other government officials warning that they were taking this seriously and that the threat itself touched a number of important other investigations. So, and we've seen this here in the United States, Gayle. That's one of those things that, and I think the government had the right take on it. Let's figure out who did it and get them first, and then let's look at our own processes after. And that's what they've said they're going to do.
As you can see this morning, they're worried about more attacks coming. And so the Sri Lankan government shut down all social media, Facebook, WhatsApp, some other social media sites that are used there in Sri Lanka. Does that help the situation, do you believe, that they took?
You know, it's hard to second guess them from here. You know, that it's always something that sends a chill up a democratic government. But their stated reason was to prevent misinformation. And we've seen a lot of discussion since they did that about, I believe the headline in one major newspaper was, you know, the tensions are the heat and social media can be the match.
Oh.
John, we've been talking about lone wolves for the last period of time when we talk about terrorism, but this sense of coordination, does that put in mind for you any particular organization?
So I think we have to ask ourselves a couple of questions. Well, let's make it 3. Number 1, is this the resurgence of al-Qaeda, which has been expanding its network to pick up these affiliates, because it is certainly more their style. Number 2, is this an ISIS-influenced group when ISIS has gone from being a caliphate, gone from being an infantry, and now remains solely as a terrorist group? And number 3, is this a local group that has grown in sophistication and complexity?
Right.
The 3 churches and luxury hotels, does that say anything to you?
It certainly does. It certainly says this was an attack directed against Christians specifically, with a tinge of economic targets. They want to strike at a given religion, and I think we've been waiting for that shoe to drop since the attack on the mosque in New Zealand, in that both on the 15th for ISIS and on the 18th for al-Qaeda, their leaders have called on all the affiliate groups to do an attack in revenge for that.
Okay.
And that is speculation there, but it's certainly something we have to look at.
Got it.
All right, John Miller, thanks so much for being here, John.